Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David.
Hey guys, it's Ray back again.
Hello there, my name is Bobby.
And this is where we talk all stuff Star Wars. And yes, we have Bobby with us today, a very special guest. He is with Rebel Scum Con, and he's going to talk all about it. So, Bobby, what is Rebel Scum Con?
Well, simply put, it is the physical gathering of rebelscum.com. So, rebelscum.com was founded in 96 by Philip Wise, and it is the oldest and largest independent Star Wars fan website globally, meaning we're the biggest one not owned by Disney.
Oh, wow.
And we've just been bringing Star Wars fan news about toys and merch and shows and movies for decades. And when my partner Josh Durazo and I were approached by Philip to carry on the legacy of rebelscum.com, so to speak, one of the things we had discussed with Philip was, well, why was there never a official convention, may we ask? And he talked about it for a little while, and basically the cliff notes were time. He just never got around to it really. And we had said early on, well, that's something we kind of always saw for this. Like, this would be a really great opportunity and a really cool thing to do one day. And so after we been running rebelscum.com since summer of 2021, we started to talk more seriously about it. And then that led to actually planning something. And now it's happening. And we have around 40 Star Wars celebrity guests from as old as the original 1977 film. And we also have some actors and actresses who are appearing from shows that haven't even come out on Disney Plus yet. Now,
Wow.
they can't talk about those characters, but they can talk about the characters they've already played in shows such as The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi, because we have a great many actors and actresses appearing from those shows. But it's kind of cool when it just started out as just kind of kicking this idea around to, well, let's just do it, because Star Wars Celebration kind of took a break with the United States for a little while for all of us Star Wars fans over here. So why don't we do something in between that time for now and see what happens? So
Nice.
here we are.
You know, it's actually really great for especially Ray and I that you're actually in Texas. You're not
Yes.
super close to us, but I'm lucky in that my brother actually lives very close to Allen, and I go up there occasionally. So,
Wonderful.
as you can see right there on the website, if you're watching us on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook, you can see it's going to take place June 27th through the 30th this year in Allen, Texas, which is essentially North Dallas. So, I think Ray and I are actually going to make the trip up there. So, if anyone's listening to us, you'll be able to meet Ray and I in the flesh. And according to Bobby, we'll have our own table, and you'll be able to see us on the floor there.
That's
So
right.
it looks like you just made this announcement with Ahmed Best coming to Rebel
Mhm.
Scum Con. He hasn't done a whole lot of conventions, has he?
To my knowledge, the last convention he set up at was Celebration 2017 Orlando.
Wow.
So not very
Actually
many,
set up. Okay. Because I
no.
remember for the Phantom Menace 20th, he was on stage, but he wasn't set up anywhere, I believe.
No, not
Or
not that I
2019.
saw.
Yeah.
And that was Chicago.
Yeah.
Um, that
Chicago.
was that was a pretty fun show. That there was a lot of cool things going on at that show. That was actually the first celebration I got to personally attend. And
Nice.
while I was in the con, I had an absolute blast. the city was, it is what it is. But um, that and Anaheim 22 was really awesome.
Nice. Okay. So we probably crossed paths if we didn't know it.
I'm
'Cause
sure we did.
I've been to every celebration since 2015, except for the London, the first London after The Force Awakens. Was that 2016 or
I
2018?
think it might. Yeah, I think it was one of those two. It might have been 16. But I
Yeah.
could be misremembering.
So, question. So, Rebel
Yes.
Scum, you said you took over uh the rebelscum.com.
Hmm.
What made you guys, you and your partner, decide, hey, we're going to take this on? Was it because this is something you guys loved and you just saw it as an opportunity to, you know, to do what you're passionate about, or how did that go upon?
I mean, pretty much exactly that. Yeah, actually. So my partner and I, we had already been working in the Star Wars world through our other business, Order 66 Toys, which is the first and official licensed Star Wars toy store in the world. We opened our doors back in 2010 in downtown McKinney, Texas, which is also a few hours north of you guys, and had been operating in the North Texas area for a long time. And right around 2017, when I came on, my background was media. I have a degree in radio and television because I wanted to go to school to learn how to become a voice actor.
Nice.
So um, somehow Star Wars came into the mix there because I had just found this store, Order 66 Toys, and it was back in 2016 when Rogue One had come out. And Rogue One just like I've always been a Star Wars fan, big time. But Rogue One like just reignited that passion like so hard for me. And it's been nonstop Star Wars go 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 since then. So we decided to start doing like a show type thing for his store, Order 66, and um, so it started with just doing fun little fan videos here and there, toy reviews, and then some of our viewers started saying, "Well, why don't you guys start doing your doing these online sales? We see all these other fans and some of these other businesses doing them, but we know your quality of business and we know like you guys are the hub for Star Wars toys, or at least in the area. Why don't you guys make your stuff more available to the Star Wars fans around the world?" And we were like, we'll try it. We'll see where it goes. And it took off. And then we started partnering with Facebook groups like the Community of Star Wars Collectors. And the Community of Star Wars Collectors is one of the very large Facebook groups of Star Wars fans, and uh, they do all kinds of cool little fan contests where you feature your collection, and there's a winner each month, and they can win free prizes from other members in the group. In fact,
Nice.
we've donated many prizes into that as well. And a lot of people just claim stuff in our Friday night live show on the Order 66 Toys show, which is still going, um, and just donate through there too. And so it was by making a bigger presence for ourselves and being involved in the community around us, um, and raising money for various charities and partnering with the 501st on a lot of public events and stuff over the years, that I guess put us on Philip's radar. So when when it when he approached us for it, we already had the love and the passion for Star Wars because we were already living it every day of our lives anyway.
Hmm.
And when Josh and I saw this opportunity when it was presented to us, um, we just looked at it as the next step up from what we were already doing. And one of the other things we had discussed, like right then and there, was, well, we've already been doing a lot of cool, fun fan content and toy reviews and stuff. So we'll just transition over and focus on content for the website. And the goal we set was we want to have something new featured on rebelscum.com every single day, whether that's a new toy announcement, a toy review, a fan video, a fan article, some breaking news article about a new Star Wars show, some new trailer drop. There's something new on rebelscum.com every single day.
Nice.
And so yeah, in a long way of answering your question, like I said, it was just the next step forward for what he and I were already doing and
Nice.
what we were already trying to do with the community around us, which was just be available for Star Wars fans, try to make some fun content, and spread the love of Star Wars.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'm on the website right now for the convention, and you have a really expansive array of guests here from Star Wars. Some that I've
Yeah.
seen a lot at conventions that I haven't been able to meet quite yet, and some
Mm-hmm.
that I don't think have done very many. Like in particular, Evan Witten, who played
Yeah.
Jason Sandula.
That's
That's
gonna be
Yep.
cool.
yeah,
He
that's
hasn't done a ton of conventions yet either, and we're actually very excited for him. Another Ahsoka cast member on there, Paul Darnell, the man who played Marok.
Yeah.
We're very excited to have him. I don't think he's done a convention in the United States yet. I think this is
okay.
his first con here in the United States. I think he's got like another signing in between now and then, but I think it's like a send in or it's like a store signing. But yeah, we're really excited about Paul and Evan because Ahsoka was so cool, man. It's such a good show. I know some people ragged on it a little bit. I mean, we're Star
Oh
Wars
no.
fans. We rag on everything. But uh, I mean, when you were talking about Revenge of the Sith and Hayden coming back in
Mhm.
Ahsoka, dude, I straight up cried when they teased Hayden. Like at that first episode where she wakes up, she's in the world between worlds, and you hear, "Hey, Snips!" Like just instant tears, just right then and there. It was such an amazing moment. Yeah,
Uh, it was
I'm really excited.
it was great. So did you okay, so we have fans who watched the Clone Wars and watched Star Wars Rebels, and then you have the fans who didn't watch it. Were you one of those fans who
Hmm.
watched everything?
Oh yeah, dude. If it's Star Wars, I'll watch it. Like I've even watched Young Jedi Adventures, and like yes, it's a kid show. It's definitely a kid show, but it's not bad. Even that's pretty cool. There's some cool storytelling in that too.
So
So
then when
yeah,
you
if it's
watched
Star Wars, I'm interested.
so then when you watched the so for us, like I watched all of them, the cartoon series and Clone Wars, everything.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
when we saw that we were getting a live action Ahsoka and we got, Bo Katan in live action, for me,
Hmm.
I was so excited. Like other people were looking at me like, why are you so excited for it?
Yeah. Why are you so excited? Who is that?
Yeah.
No, I'm right there with you because I noticed the pattern on her helmet before anything else went. Like before she even got a word, I was like, "That's Bo-Katan. That's Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan is in Mandalorian." Like, but then like immediately after that, I'm like, "Wait a minute, she's got to be like 50 or 60 though in this. Like, how is she gonna look?" And then Katie Sackhoff took the helmet off, and I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, she looks great. Let's go." So yeah, no, I was very excited about that. And then like when Ahsoka showed up too, like just wow, simply wow.
Yeah, to me back when when Dave asked me to join this podcast, it was cool because we get to sit back and talk about like how we enjoyed these things in the shows and stuff. And for me, when I got to see and this is the thing, getting talk to people like you, where you could talk about Ahsoka when she first
Hmm.
was introduced into the series back in the day. People
Hmm.
kind of didn't like her, and as
No,
she grew,
people didn't like her.
yeah,
I remember that very well because for me it was a little different because I was in middle school when that came out. I'm 28.
oh wow, okay,
Um, so it was a little different for me. But I do remember the backlash at the time. And I also remember even at the time, at that age, some of my other classmates saying, "Why are you still watching Star Wars? That's lame," especially now that it's a cartoon.
yeah,
And and of course I was just like, yeah, 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 whatever, buddy. And then I'm sitting there at home late at night watching Clone Wars on Cartoon Network, because that's what it was on at the time. Yeah, I remember there was backlash back then, but then again, so there was with the prequels as well,
yeah,
and that came back around. The Ahsoka backlash came back around. I mean, now she's a legacy character in Star Wars that's about 20 years old. Not to throw that at anybody, but I was talking about that the other day with a colleague. Ahsoka and Captain Rex are about to be 20-year-old characters in 4 years. Just saying.
yeah,
Uh, and it's so funny to think about how people were just so negative about it initially, and how now she's one of the most beloved characters of all time. I
yes.
mean, I would say she is as beloved in the same breath as Padme Amidala and Princess Leia at this point.
I agree with you 100%, man. She's one of these characters. She grew as you watch the series, you know, you could see her growth as a character, and it
Hmm.
made you love her more as it continued in the series. And it it, it kind of, I guess it kind of we saw, I guess, her seeing the world from the other side of okay, perfect example. We'll be talking about this in a little bit, but Tales of the Empire,
Hmm.
the character who betrayed Ahsoka, and
Hmm.
you know what I mean? And then
Yes.
what happens in this episode of, of Tales of the Empire, if you haven't watched it, guys. But that made me look at her in a different light as well. And
Yes.
she's one of the guests that you're gonna have at the show as well, the live action version.
We've actually seen on our pre-ticket sales too side of things. There's a fan resurgence due to that too, because Nalini was one of our leading ticket sales guests right now, pre-sale wise.
Nice.
A
Yeah,
lot
because I
of
mean,
a lot of fans are excited about Barris.
no, because I be honest with you, in the series, in the cartoon series, I was like, I was so pissed about what she did, and
Yes, everybody was, and rightfully so. I mean, what she did was so messed up.
yeah, but then seeing her in these Tales of the Empire, it made me really look at her in a different light, and I was
Yep.
like, wow, like I don't know. What about you, David? How did you take that from Tales of the Empire?
I love it when Star Wars goes back and they fill the gaps because it was, I think, over a decade long time period from
It
what
was.
you did, and then to this point, and to get that trailer, like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get to find out exactly what her story ended up being.
Yeah,
And I'm pretty sure everyone that's listening to us has seen Tales of the Empire, but if not, spoiler alert, it ends like kind of open. I mean,
Yeah, it ends.
didn't she die?
It
It's
it ends like it begins.
yeah,
yeah.
It kind. I mean, it, her character is, yeah, not in the exact same place or exact same situation, but that was one of the complaints a friend of mine made when we were talking about it was, well, it started with her fate being ambiguous, so we're finally getting that answer, but then they leave her fate ambiguous
yeah,
again. And it's just like, on one hand, it's kind of like frustrating, but in a like frustrating in like a, man, I love this kind of a way. Like, I love that you made this for me, but dang you for, not giving me clear
Answer.
closure on this character.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe her species has like 3 stomachs or something. You know, she could do without.
I mean, Reva survived her stabbing, so you know.
Okay, I'm gonna throw this out here. This is just me. I think crazy shit. I excuse my language. I think of crazy stuff.
Sure.
Now, if you remember the age, okay, so remember when she threw her off the cliff, her the Inquisitor,
Yes.
and they you see them again, the two together,
Uh
and
huh.
she's aged, but the Inquisitor hasn't. So my thing is, okay, this is just me thinking outside the box. What if, because remember when they bought her that the young baby that, you know, basically telling her that this kid has that potential for a Jedi because he has the,
Hmm.
you know what I
High
mean,
M count.
high M count.
Yep.
But do you think she was kind of like a healing person because they call her mother? Uh, do you think that she's been using her Jedi powers to heal the sick in some format or another?
Yes. Yes. I do think that because, like you said, that she's aged a little bit more rapidly
Yes.
than 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 Fourth Sister has. Now, the time gap, it didn't give us a clear time gap
Yeah.
as to when we saw her leave Fourth Sister last and when she was older, or rather older looking. And we know that when, or as is established in current canon, force healing is more like a transference more than it is a just
Yes.
I'm using the force to heal you, like it used to be. In Legends, you could just force heal, but now it's, well, you have to give some to heal some, I guess.
Yes.
Um, I was thinking about that too, and the other thing I was thinking with that is I saw someone post earlier today reference to a book, I believe, that was about Barris, where she was using her force abilities to heal clones and other allies.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
I if that's an accurate thing I saw, then that's another really cool callback. I'm not too sure on that one because that's not a book I've read. So
Yeah, I haven't either. So I just, like I said, I see things differently, and that's one thing that
hmm
always, like, I think of crazy things at certain points, but it's just, I guess it's just a
well,
fan in me thinking.
well, and that's a very good way to think about it because Dave learned from George, and George, a lot of his storytelling was situational and using the the image of the character as well as the actions of the character to tell the story itself. It's
True.
not just all dialogue, like when you're reading a book, they wore this and it symbolizes this. So seeing action or action over time is right within their wheelhouse and something I totally would not put past them as an important detail in Tales of the Empire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially someone like Barris who has a lot of baggage and guilty conscience for all the horrible things she did.
Yeah.
Her burning herself out as a healer with a bunch of refugees in the galaxy totally makes sense.
Yeah. That's what I pictured that she was doing. She was trying to get redemption of what she had done in the past.
Yeah,
Yeah, I noticed
I
here
read
that
in
you
that.
have I noticed here that you have a guest from Skeleton Crew that's going to be there at Rebel Scum Con.
Yes, we do. He hasn't told us who his character is yet because he can't. But uh, supposedly he has a feature character within the Skeleton Crew series. And to be totally honest with you, we also saw that he was the Predator, the I think they called it the Feral Predator in the movie Prey,
Oh, that
which
was so
was a
good.
fantastic installment in that franchise. And honestly, me and my partner Joshua are huge Alien and Predator fans as well, and kind of wanted
Nice.
an excuse to book him once he because either he or his agent reached out to us, and
Oh wow.
we were like, "Well, do you have a Star Wars character?" And he goes, "Yes, but I can't tell you who it is yet." We're like, "Okay, that's good enough for us. We'll sign you on. Okay, why not?"
Yeah,
Sweet.
I remember running that story. Feels like almost years back now that he was going to be something in Skeleton Crew, and he's a very large man. So I mean, one maybe thinks of Wookiee possibly.
See, I was thinking that, or maybe like some kind of mocap droid or something.
What if, okay, throwing this out there, there's been
Oh,
images
okay.
on the cartoon series, and then there is a picture of the guy who looks like a shark.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Maybe that would be cool to see in live action.
Yeah.
I would love to see because then that means we would probably finally get a figure of a shark character in Star Wars, which would mean we might finally get the Clone Wars shark general from the
That,
Mon Cala arc
yeah.
because that's a figure I've wanted for over a decade.
That would be crazy if that's the character he plays. But
That'd be cool.
now that Dave brought up Skeleton Crew. Okay, this is I
Yes.
bought this. I told David about this. I don't know. What if, since they left us hanging with Omega in Bad Batch,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been seeing this
do
too.
you
Yes.
think do you think we'll get some type of cameo maybe or something in live action? Do you think?
I hope we do. I don't know for sure. But I hope we do because now that now that we know Omega is out there somewhere and we've seen an older version of her, I like to hope that we are going to see a live action adult Omega, that this was really just a way to tee that up because that would just be so cool. Now, the actress from Skeleton Crew that I've seen people use, I feel like she looks a little too young,
Yeah.
me personally. Um, and I also don't think she looks enough like Tamara or Daniel Logan to play
Uh,
Omega. Just me personally.
yeah, me too.
But
I thought about that too. But my thing was, the reason why I thought maybe she would come out in it is because
mhm,
the way she cared about the children, and
yes,
this is kind of based on a group of young, I don't say children, but teenagers ish is what it's supposed to be, right?
I think it's. I'm still kind of honestly, I'm still kind of confused as to what Skeleton Crew is actually going to be about. Um, Mostly just because there hasn't been enough said about it yet. It's
Yeah.
really weird actually, that Disney said almost nothing about it yet because I'm really excited about it, especially since supposedly it's going to pick up after season 3 of Mando.
Yeah.
Um, and but the thing that excites me most is they're going to be exploring like all new characters, like actually all new characters, it seems. And that's the other reason I'm excited for Acolyte too. I don't know why people are poo pooing on that either. Seen a
Oh,
lot of
dude.
negativity on the
I
Acolyte show, and I'm disappointed in that because it looks awesome.
No, I like it. Okay, this is my opinion again.
Mm.
I get a Matrix feel. I love the fight scene that we got at the
I
end of,
was too.
yeah, at the end of the trailer.
Yeah.
It gave me such a feel, but then the opportunity with the lightsabers pulling out and everything, it it just, where I took everything in, and it's kind of funny where she uses the force to stop her, like, from getting closer to her. But
Hmm.
I got that feel. No, don't get me wrong, because of course she was in the Matrix, but
Right.
it's just those fight scenes, and the outfit reminded me when they were in that dojo, and it just, everything around it just kind of gave me that feel, and I love that type of fighting. Um,
Yes.
so that was just what my thoughts. But like you said, there was some people who didn't like it. But what about you, David?
Well,
What do you think?
I think I'm kind of holding back my hype level because it's one of those things where you get a trailer,
Mhm.
and sometimes trailers are notorious for showing us all the action, usually. And if that's all the action that we're going to get in the Acolyte, it's going to be a little disappointing. Hopefully, they held back a
That's fair.
lot. The second trailer just felt like somewhat of an extension of the first trailer. And I know
Yeah.
Leslie Headland, the showrunner, is very, very clever. She's a very smart woman. And I'm hoping she's holding back a lot. And I've
Mhm.
heard things like, kind of like what Ryan Johnson said with The Last Jedi, this isn't going the way you
I,
think.
yeah, I've picked up on those too, and yeah, I'm hoping that's just her just trying to put some flavor on what she's saying.
Possibly. But she's also described the Acolyte as a combination of Frozen and Kill Bill. She's said that before. And it's like, what?
Yeah, I don't know what that means either.
The
Yeah.
Kill Bill, I don't mind. The Frozen, I'm kind of but the Kill Bill, those series was, I love that series too. It
Yeah.
is same thing, same type of fight scenes and the same type of building style. Um,
So touching on that, I want because you mentioned that when you were first talking about it, I wanted to circle back to that. That's actually a really cool callback to some of the original inspiration that George had for Star Wars,
Mhm,
because he was inspired by all the old samurai flicks.
mhm,
That was one of the big basis of his inspiration for a lot of the aesthetics that went in to Star Wars in the first place. So to see them kind of circle back to that in Acolyte is one of the things that excites me, especially like on the behind the scenes production side of things, because it's just it's like George would say about Star Wars. It's like Star Wars is like poetry. It rhymes. Well, apparently the production and real life factors of Star Wars also rhyme, because also going back to the whole Matrix thing, what's really funny about that is back in the day when the prequels were being filmed and the Matrix trilogy was also being filmed, the Dread Ghosts from the second Matrix movie were Jedi Masters in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. Kit Fisto and I think the other one was Cicey 10 were the Dread Ghosts in the Matrix. So
oh dang.
now Trinity from the Matrix is a Jedi Master also. It's very
Yeah.
Matrix styley martial arts
See, so now
in the
I'm really
fighting. So
thinking, are we gonna get Keanu Reeves then?
dude, everybody wants Keanu Reeves as Revan so bad. Like
Oh, dude.
they
There
just
was a report. There
Disney just
was a
needs to do it.
report that he was doing something around a set,
That
and
would be so cool.
that's when the news stories started popping out again. Hey, look, Keanu Reeves maybe has something to do with Star Wars, and we all know the fan casting. We got Rosario Dawson, and now
Yeah, we did.
we're gonna talk about a little bit later. Darth Jar Jar is a thing now. So
Yes, Darth Jar Jar finally.
uh,
Lucasfilm
Yes.
feels like they maybe have an ear to the fans more so than before, and
Mm,
that's what we've been asking for on this podcast for years now. Just there's stuff out there that the fans are asking for. We want. I know you can tread into horrible fan service type stuff. We don't want that. We just kind of want like, okay, do a casting like Rosario Dawson because she works. She's a great actress. It works, and it did work. So Keanu Reeves might
yeah,
be
it
that
did.
next guy. I mean, it could be just simply like a prologue if they
yeah.
want to do something like an epic Lord of the Rings style prologue for the Acolyte. You can have Keanu when there is Revan, because of course we all know he's an ancient character. So
Yes.
and that can like just lead into 100 years before the Phantom Menace. That would be awesome. That would be I think our dream to get that. And maybe then we circle back to Revan and do a Revan film starring Keanu Reeves. Maybe you de-age him, age him up, whatever you got to do. Um, there's so much potential. And of course, in London, they announced all the different eras, and Old Republic was in there. So
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
Hmm. Yeah, I don't understand the initial backlash of the High Republic coming in as an era because it doesn't touch the Knights of the Old Republic or Old Republic era at
yeah,
all. It's nowhere near them in the timeline. I mean, it's a few hundred years before Phantom Menace versus what 3,000 for Knights of the Old Republic.
yeah, it's
So,
thousands of years.
and we already knew that Revan and other characters specifically from that era were still canon. It's just the games and the books specifically that aren't. So the events as they specifically happen in those books and games aren't canon, but characters and concepts in the general timeline itself still is and always has been. So yeah, I never understood the initial backlash for High Republic and the screeching of I can't believe they're giving us this instead of this, or um, doing away with this instead of this, or maybe that's just how they took it. I don't know, but I always saw the High Republic as, oh, this is a new timeline in addition to everything else we've had, not a replacement. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm interested. I can't wait for it. So okay, now with that being talked about, and then talking
Hmm.
about um going back to Skeleton Crew.
Yeah.
So with the Skeleton Crew, is that, of course we don't know much about it. What are your thoughts, or what do you think the premise is going to focus around, or what would you like it to focus around?
I've heard some rumors saying something like it's gonna have to do with, or some people might think it has something to do with the formation of the First Order, or more of the building towards the First Order. Like maybe we're gonna see um, some of the gathering of uh, kids and stuff to start building the military force for the First Order, and maybe that's why these younger characters are on the run.
Okay.
And that's kind of an interesting idea to me because we know the First Order started, or rather, Remnant Empire that ended up forming the First Order. One of the what's the word, contingencies was to start capturing and gathering kids to build a new military force, which ended up being the First Order Stormtroopers. And they recruited organizations like the uh, starts with a J, I think, some kind of company from Star Wars Battlefront 2. Um, so I'm wondering if we're going to see some tie-in with that. If they are going that route, I kind of hope that we're going to see some tie-in to characters like that. Maybe we'll see characters like Gideon Hask from Star Wars Battlefront 2 make a resurgence since they were involved in plots like that. My main hope is to see more of a driving force towards the actual First Order, because we seen with Moff Gideon and the Shadow Collective towards the end of season 3 of Mando and other post Return of the Jedi, pre Force Awakens stories, that there were some scattered warlords and stuff, and then eventually somehow the First Order organized, and then they're the First Order and we're here.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to see more development to that, because we've already seen now that these warlords bickering amongst themselves isn't working. Um, Moff Gideon just lost.
Yeah.
He's another warlord who just got defeated, and probably permanently this time. And now Thrawn's coming in, and he's probably going to, I think, be that initial uniting force for the Empire. And the Shadow Council is probably going to start operating more. Excuse me. What's the word I'm looking for? United, and maybe that'll play into Skeleton Crew somehow. But that's that's what I want to see. Like
Okay.
I said, long way of saying that is I want to see them actually moving towards this now, because we've had little clues here and there. We've seen what kind of looked like a clone Snoke in a season of Mando, and we've seen Praetorian Guards in season 3 of Mando. We've seen Brindle Hux in season 3 of Mando.
Yeah.
Let's push the First Order train forward. It's time to get it going.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that. I want to see how it was formed, who put it together. I definitely want to see that kind of stuff to fill in those holes leading up to the other trilogy series. But I
Mm-hmm.
think they've done a great job filling in the holes from Rebels, up to Phantom Menace and after Phantom Menace and all that. I love how they filled out all those little holes and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that, tied everything in. But
Oh
it's just
yeah.
you know,
Oh yeah. It's been really good. That's what's nice about it, is like Star Wars has always been a big picture kind of story. It's always been a mosaic, so to speak. And each of these shows, each comic and each book is just one more little piece to make that picture even bigger and prettier. And for me, every time one of these new shows comes out, it just further enhances what I've already been looking at for the past almost 50 years, along with
yeah,
everybody else.
I agree with you.
I agree. And on YouTube, we have Wikipedia watching us. They say hello there. So hello.
General Wikipedia Obi.
Nice.
So yeah, speaking of Skeleton Crew, there's some Skeleton Crew news that just dropped. There's the picture that Disney gave us a while back of Jude Law in front of the cast of Skeleton Crew there, and you can see on the right hand side, all blurry, a young Ortolan, Max Rebo species that we all know. We all know that specific host of Star Wars Stuff podcast. That's really excited about that information, but. This story, it comes to us from Collider. They broke it. It's entitled Star Wars Skeleton Crew Uses Stop Motion by Phil Tippett and Old School Matte Paintings. And this is an exclusive they got. John Watts also reveals they managed to bring in an ILM painter out of retirement for Skeleton Crew. John Watts, the guy in the chair behind the MCU Spider-Man trilogy, is now steering the ship for Disney Plus's latest series, Star Wars Skeleton Crew. Chatting with Collider Steve Weintraub at CCXP Mexico City, Watts dished on how he's mixing the latest tech with some good old-fashioned movie magic for this new venture into a galaxy far, far away. Watts is having a blast blending state-of-the-art techniques like motion capture and pre-visualization with classic filmmaking tricks. He said, I got to use all the cool stuff on my most recent Star Wars show. We had previs, mocap, we shot on the volume, we did everything. But the most fun part was we all also used all the old school techniques as well. He said, we got Phil Tippett to do stop motion, which is incredible. We did matte paintings, like real old fashioned matte paintings. We got an ILM painter out of retirement to come out and do that. So to me, all that stuff is fun. But it's just another tool, and it depends on how you use it, of course. For Watts, it's all about using the right tool for the right job. Bringing Tippett back to Star Wars is a neat nod to the past and a cool piece of continuity for the series. The legend in stop-motion animation. He is a legend in stop-motion animation. He is a pioneer in early visual effects. Tippett made a significant impact with his work on the original Star Wars trilogy, especially his development of the motion control technology used for the walking movements of the AT-AT Empire Strikes Back, and the legendary Djarik Star Wars chess game on the Millennium Falcon. Tippett also contributed to the creation of other iconic creatures and sequences in films such as the dinosaurs of Jurassic Park. So, yeah, that's incredible that Phil Tippett is coming back. It feels like he's been away for a little bit. We got to find out a lot about him from that series that they ran about ILM on Disney Plus. It's very interesting, very personal too. But it's great that he's back. I'm all for it. The matte paintings are incredible. I think if you're an old school fan, you remember that. And that's how they kind of pulled off all the stormtroopers lined up on the Death Star #2, and also how they pulled off Alec Guinness walking around the tractor beam. That was in a
Mhm.
matte painting, and
Yep.
I'm all for that, man. That is the language of Star Wars. That's the DNA of Star Wars. I think they should maybe go more towards that than anything. When I was younger, I've talked about this before. I was all about CGI, but getting older, kind of realizing that there is a way to make Star Wars. I think, and the way to do it is with practical effects,
Yep.
puppets, masks. I think George Lucas kind of disagrees with me because he wants to push technology forward and he doesn't want to do so much mass stuff. Same thing with Peter Jackson. He doesn't want to do practical either. But to me, that's just what Star Wars is. And you look at what they did in The Last Jedi with Yoda. He's a practical puppet. The puppet is still there. Hopefully, we see him in The Acolyte because he's a younger. I don't want to say man. We still don't know what his species is called, but yeah, he's a younger being there, and I would like to see if they possibly de-age the puppet. I don't know, that'd be wild, but you would assume that Yoda's going to appear in the Acolyte, right? I mean, there's too
He's
much
around.
opportunity. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
He's already a Grand Master on the Council at that point. I mean,
yeah,
they've they've been covering Yoda in the High Republic era pretty much the whole time. So he's made many appearances
yeah.
in the books, comics, and Young Jedi Adventures. He's been in that too.
Nice.
He looks actually not much different,
Yeah.
really. The biggest difference in his appearance has mostly been in his outfits. But as far as um like design wise, he mostly looks like his prequel trilogy design when they switched over to the Attack of the Clones character model. That is, he looks a lot like that mostly.
Yeah, that's fun. I'm looking forward to, and that was one thing we talked about in past episodes about. I felt that we should get half and half. Half practicals, half CGI, and volume. But I don't know. It seems like they're kind of
Mando
listening.
Mando has proven that they can coexist.
Yeah.
That's because I don't know if you guys remember talking about behind the scenes stuff, but at first apparently Grogu, then the child, was going to be CGI, or there
I
were
believe he
certain
was.
scenes where he was going to be CGI, and then
Yeah.
What's his name? Werner Herzog yelled at John Favreau and the other people working on the set at the time, and then they were like, "All right, you know what? We'll try it with the puppet." And then they were like, "Wow, that's way better." So then they started using it more. So
I
at
believe that
least
first scene when he's in the pram, the very first scene when he pulls down the blanket, that's all CGI because he looks a little different.
he does look a little different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like the whole Gollum moment in Fellowship of the Ring where he's all CGI there. Then when they come back, they totally redesign the character.
Yeah, because that's I think that was for the extended cut too. Because I don't remember Gollum being in Fellowship very much, or like being clearly visible at all. The
Yeah,
first
clearly
few times
visible.
I
No,
saw
he
it when it
wasn't.
first came out,
Yeah,
I think it's like a special edition type of situation where it's like, oh, they added Jabba in later.
Gollum wasn't. He was in Fellowship, but he wasn't clear. They
Mm.
had a scene where he puts his like fingers over something, and you can see his eyes,
See,
but you can
that
clearly
I remember.
tell it was a
That I
different
remember.
model
Hmm.
face. And then they did the wide shot where he's like holding the ring and he's like kind of crouched, and then it's like he
Yeah.
hears a noise and he like grabs the ring and he turns, and he's in shadow, but you can tell it's a totally different model. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we did kind of speculate on what Skeleton Crew is going to be about.
What did well? I speculated for a little bit. I still wanted to hear what you guys thought.
Well, I was about to read another chunk of this article where they
Sorry.
sat down with John Watts here. So the other part of the article states, what is Skeleton Crew about? The new series set to launch this holiday season on Disney Plus, which is another bit of news that we didn't have. And we're speculating on when is it going to release? Is it going to maybe be pushed back to next year, possibly 2025? But it appears it's going to drop this Christmas. So Um, the article states it follows 4 kids who stumble upon a mysterious secret and get lost in the galaxy. Watts explained it like this: it's about a group of kids that find a mysterious secret on their planet and accidentally get lost out in the galaxy. And it's the story about them trying to find their way back home. I think we kind of knew that in general, but getting the whole Lost in Space vibe, but finding something, I'm not sure if that was really that well communicated. But the picture
Yeah,
I
I
keep on
remember that.
flashing on the screen here is of Jude Law. We still quite don't know who he's playing, what kind of character he's playing. It feels like when you look at the picture, I don't know, just from telling from a random picture, feels like maybe he's not a good guy and he's not a bad guy. Maybe he's like something of almost like a bounty hunter type character where it just depends on who pays them the most, and maybe
Mhm.
his character is a little nefarious. What do you think, Bobby?
He definitely gives me scoundrel vibes. He gives me. I'm leaning more towards like a Han Solo type character, but not with the morals of Han Solo. Like he seems like he'll probably be a little bit more um out for himself than even Han was, because Han's character was pretty well established from the beginning. He wants to be out for himself, but he really has a heart of gold. And I kind of see this as like a opposite to that. Like he's gonna be kind of like Han, but in the opposite direction, where he's not so much gonna have a heart of gold, because that's kind of how they got us with him in Captain Marvel, because when that was coming out, I was like, oh man, like I'm so excited. Jalaz's in this. He's gonna be her mentor. He's gonna be this good character. And then like they switched it, and he was the bad guy at the end. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Captain Marvel, but uh, yeah. So I kind of see that happening with this. Like maybe he's gonna come in there to help them out, and then probably take advantage of them or something.
Right,
Unfortunately,
right. Because I mean, you have, I think you need that kind of juxtaposition of having these innocent kids and then having the adult who is maybe trying to trick them or
hmm
use them to his advantage. So yeah, I could totally see that.
yeah.
So I kind of see a difference between Lando Calrissian and Han mixed to a certain extent
Okay.
in that aspect. But getting back to them getting lost. Now we remember there's a bunch of Sith and Jedi temples throughout the galaxy that
hmm
are underground or whatever.
mm
I don't know. I'm just thinking again outside this box. But what if these kids came across one of these, caverns that had either it was a Sith or Jedi temple, and they kind of like that world between worlds where they walk through a window and it takes them to another part of time,
mm.
but this is maybe takes them to another part of the galaxy or in that aspect. I don't know. I'm just thinking outside the box because
That's
you remember
interesting.
we had that,
Yeah.
in Rebels where there was a Jedi temple and a Sith temple on top of each other and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I don't know.
I
That's just me
I don't
thinking
see why
crazy.
not. No, I think that's totally reasonable. I think yeah, that makes sense to me. You know, I mean, we got to think it's got to be for them to mention that and be one of the only things they've actually said about this show so far. It's got to be something significant like that. It's either got to be that, or maybe if they are going the First Order or Remnant Empire direction, maybe they stumble on, a secret factory or lab or something. But we've
True.
already seen that a few times throughout the series, so it would have to be like the lab Snoke is being made in or something, or
Oh,
for it to be like more significant than something like a Jedi or Sith temple or other ancient force, um what's the word, religion center, because they've also expanded upon that very recently in canon, aside from the Witches of Dathomir, which we got pretty good coverage on since the Clone Wars series. One of the
True.
other things they've been focusing on in the High Republic era, going back to that, is in the comics and the books, they've introduced other religious organizations that worship the Force. Some of them might call it something different. Some of them might be Force users that practice aspects of the Force in different ways, kind of like the Night Sisters of Dathomir manipulate the Force in like a dark magic type of manner.
Yeah.
But we now know that through all of these comics and the things that other groups exist. In the um, Crimson Reign, where they brought back Crimson Dawn, and Bounty Hunter War type era, where they brought back Kira, then the Dr. Aphra comics, they introduced another dark side worshipping cult that they weren't Force users, but they developed technology to mimic aspects and the ability of the Force and the dark side of the Force specifically. And but they're not Sith. They don't follow the beliefs or
Yeah.
the teachings of the Sith, even though they follow an aspect of the dark side. In fact, in that ancient group were wiped out by the Sith because the Sith saw them as an affront to their beliefs. So, which makes totally sense because we know the Sith don't play well with others unless you work for them, you know.
True.
So it's very possible that we could see something like that or something completely new. Is my point
Right.
when it comes to the Force, since we keep getting introduced to cool new stuff and aspects to the Force, especially
Yeah,
in these shows.
and they mentioned artifacts as well. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Rebels or Bad Batch. It was Bad Batch, I think, or I think season 1, where that one the Bad Batch went along with that one character to
Oh,
get
that was
artifact.
season 2.
Season 2, yeah.
Yeah,
So I mean
yeah. You're
they
talking
start
about Wanda
mentioning,
Sykes' character.
yes. So there's potential artifacts as well that
Mhm.
possibly could affect it in some aspects as well. Well, I mean, it's so open. It could be so many different things. It just that's the
Oh
one thing
yeah.
about Star Wars. It makes you think in so many different directions.
Oh yeah. It's that's one of the cool things about it is it's such a large galaxy with so much in it now that when we have a new show or book or comic or game coming up, it's really fun to just let your mind race and then throw these ideas off of another Star Wars fan,
Yeah,
because sometimes like you'll have a piece of a theory and then I'll have my own theory, and then like, oh well, this piece is really cool, oh well, this piece is really cool too, and then it's like, well, now we have this other mix of what the story could be too out of all of our ideas.
yeah,
And we could be somewhere near it. Sometimes we get close. Sometimes, Lucasfilm completely surprises us and turns all the way left. But I mean, I love it when these new shows come out because these conversations are just the best,
yes,
you
I
know?
agree with you.
Yeah, and bringing up as you did the different possible religions and cults and other um, aspects of the dark side, light side. The the contradiction that's being brought up a lot is in the Phantom Menace. I believe it's Plo Koon that says the Sith has been extinct for millennia.
Yeah,
But I think what people fail to realize is you don't have to be Sith to be a dark side user per se, and a dark side uh, acolyte disciple. So yeah, and this picture right here, it's pretty clear. You can see the helmet. The helmet looks very, very Kylo Renish for the
With teeth.
yeah, with
yeah,
teeth, which looks really menacing.
Yeah.
It almost gives me like a alien from Ridley Scott Alien vibes to
It
it.
it reminded me, I don't I don't know what, but it reminds me of like an anime character. I feel like I've seen somewhere too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
sent
don't
it
know
to
which one or from what,
Chainsaw Man.
but like,
I think it's Chainsaw Man.
oh, that might have been it actually. I think it was that. That's kind of what. Yes, it was that. It's the teeth.
Yes. Just take off the chainsaw piece and just have the teeth on the side. That's what that first thing
Yeah,
I saw that's the first thing that popped in my head.
I think it looks cool though. Like I
Yeah.
really dig it.
Yeah, definitely. I want to see how it looks all around. But like David said, you
Yeah,
kind of see the back has that lip like Kylo Ren's one.
Yeah. Yeah, like a Nazi war helmet too.
Yeah.
it
It's gonna be
looks so gnarly.
Yeah.
Even the cape kind of looks like Kylo's from the Last Jedi, the leathery one he has
Hmm.
in that movie. Kind of reminds me of that a little bit too.
yeah,
And you know what? Acolyte, maybe it could be the foundation of the Knights of Ren because it also resembles just the Knight of Ren aesthetic. And we know
Right.
the Knights of Ren were a dark side worshiping group. They weren't Sith, but they were a dark side force user group because all of them were force sensitives. Only the only the leader, Ren, would be the one who used the lightsaber. So when Kylo defeated the previous Ren, um, and became Kylo Ren, uh, that's why he was the only one using the lightsaber because he was top dog in the organization. So maybe this could be an early Easter egg as to that. Like maybe we're seeing the original Ren or a Ren in this point of the timeline. Maybe
possible.
that'd
Yeah.
be cool.
Yeah, there is a comic book series about the Knights of Ren. I remember the original first leader, I want to say, he has like a almost like a Cobra Commander helmet without the actual non-silver piece.
Yeah, and it's got like
And it's
a symbol in the middle.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I
Mhm.
mean there could be a connection there. Um,
True.
so yeah, the two shows that one's gonna drop in June 4th, 2 episode premiere, and then Skeleton Crew later on this holiday season, unless they change it. I mean, we don't know. But yeah,
Oh,
speaking of streaming, there's a little bit of news on the streaming front for Disney Plus. So I believe there was a call that was made. I'm not sure if it was an investor call, but this story comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. It's entitled "Disney Streaming Comes Close to Profitability in Latest Quarter Disney Plus Subscribers Surge." So Disney Plus hasn't been making money, which is wild. Um, the Bob Iger led company's combined streaming business lost only $18 million in the quarter, as Charter's new deal with the company caused subs to rise and average revenue per user to fall, which is odd. Disney is on the precipice of the entertainment industry's white whale, profitability in streaming. The company reported its fiscal second quarter earnings early Tuesday morning, disclosing that its combined direct to consumer businesses of Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus lost only $18 million last quarter on revenues of $6.2 billion. And when ESPN Plus is removed from that equation, the entertainment streaming business was actually profitable with revenues of $5.6 billion and a net profit of $47 million. While the company warns that Q3 will be choppier thanks to some changes at Disney Plus, Hotstar, it says that expects the streaming division to be fully in the black in fiscal Q4 and to be a meaningful future growth driver for the company after that. Charter's big deal with Disney was also a major factor in the quarter, helping to cause Disney Plus subscribers to surge by more than 6 million to 117.6 million. However, the average revenue per subscriber fell slightly from 8.15 million to 8 million to reflect the wholesale pricing associated with the deal. Disney CFO Hugh Johnson said on the earnings call, it was an earnings call, that the ad tier now has 22.5 million subscribers, juiced in part by Charter. Relatedly, Disney's linear business saw revenue fall by 7% and operating income fall by 18%, due in part to the decision to drop Freeform, Disney Junior, and other channels from Charter, as well as lower linear ratings overall. The company recorded a $700 million impairment charge related to those linear networks. Hulu added 700,000 subscribers, with the Hulu Plus Live TV service losing 100,000. It was said our results were driven in large part by our experiences, segments, as well as our streaming businesses. Importantly, entertainment streaming was profitable for the quarter, and we remain on track to achieve profitability in our combined streaming businesses in Q4, Disney CEO Bob Iger said in a statement. Looking at our company as a whole, it's clear that the turnaround and growth initiatives we set in motion last year have continued to yield positive results, he continued. We have a number of highly anticipated theatrical releases arriving over the next few months. Our television shows are resonating with audiences and critics alike. ESPN continues to break ratings records as we further its evolution into the permanent digital sports platform. And we are turbocharging growth in our experiences business with a number of near and long-term strategic investments. On the company's earnings call, Iger said that it will add an ESPN title to Disney Plus by the end of this year, with a modest lineup of sports programming ahead of ESPN's flagship launch next year. He added that Disney will officially begin its password-sharing crackdown next month in a variety of select markets. Obviously, we're heartened by the results that Netflix has delivered in their password-sharing initiative and believe that it will be one of the contributors to grow going forward, he added. Disney generated $22.1 billion in revenue last quarter, up 1% from a year ago, with operating income of $3.8 billion, up 22%. Its free cash flow in the quarter was $2.4 billion. As usual, the biggest driver of the company's finances is its expenses division, which had a revenue of $8.4 billion and operating income of $2.3 billion, both up double digits from a year ago. That being said, Johnson noted that higher costs and new cruise ships will impact the experiences business this year, and he warned somewhat ominously that we are seeing some evidence of a global modernization from peak cost COVID travel with pressures from wages, reopening costs, and demand impacts are expected to persist in Q4. Entertainment segment revenue was $9.8 billion, down 5% from last year, but with operating income of $781 million, up 72% from last year. The sports division, which is mostly ESPN, had a revenue of $4.3 billion and operating income of $778 million. So that is the news on the streaming front. Did you get all that, gentlemen? And Ray, you're on mute.
No, it's gonna be interesting to see how that it does come up there where it's making the money. So now we can get more movies. I mean, getting back to what we got this weekend, look how much Phantom Menace made over the weekend, bringing it back into theaters. Was it 8 million for the weekend?
Last I saw was 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean
Yeah.
we've been talking about this on this podcast for a while now, that certain things like that should be in theaters. Like, give us some of the episodes in regular, and then the big, lead ups or final episode should be in theater format to make us. Because I mean, I think it's for stuff like that we should see it in a group of fans, because watching Phantom Menace this past weekend, I don't know how your experience was, but fans, just hearing the music, seeing the crawl, it you could hear the excitement in the fans. And I mean, how was your experience, Bob, this weekend, Bobby?
Oh yeah, it was very much cheerful like that. I mean, everybody was excited to be there. People were applauding when the credits were rolling at the end. People were like, "Oh wow!" While even while the acolyte promo was playing after that too. Like, the whole thing was just exciting, and I went to at least two showings of the Phantom Menace.
Nice.
In the same day, because I watched it at one point, and or like earlier in the evening, afternoon, and then I was about to head home. Um, and then I met with somebody else, and I was like, you know what? I want to go watch it again. And I have to see the Rogers defeat the Gungans again. And so I went and bought another ticket, and then again the second time, just people were excited to be there. At the end, they were applauding, and it was just it was really cool. It was really cool. Plus, while we were there, we are like, hey, by the way, if you want to meet Jar Jar Binks, he's gonna he's gonna be at our convention this summer. And then those people were like, wait, there's a convention this summer? Oh yeah, oh yeah, and it's in your neighborhood, so it even better. So
Now it's going to be okay. So getting it out there. So with Jar Jar Binks being at your show,
yes.
it's going to be hard to. What do you want to get signed? Do you get a Jar Jar pop,
Oh my gosh.
or
Yeah.
what do you
I
get
don't
signed?
know. I don't know. I've been wrestling with that actually. Like that's kind of been one of the big stresses I've had for all of our guests is what do I get signed? Some of them it's a little easier than others. Ahmed is going to be the toughest because I have so much Jar Jar stuff, and and so many of them would just be like, oh, this would be great to get signed. This would be great to get signed. Like I'm stuck between one of the original carded releases from the Phantom Menace because it's the original carded release. I'm stuck between that, the Black Series 6-inch scale version, because that's what I personally collect the most is Black Series 6-inch scale. My favorite line in all of Star Wars. And the lollipop. The tongue
The
lollipop.
tongue.
That's the other one. That's the other one I'm like, I kind of want to get that signed just because it's one of my favorite pieces. Like, yeah, it's a weird and arguably gross piece, but it's something I've always loved, and it's still sealed. Like, it still has the original wrapped candy inside the thing. Like,
Wow.
it's all there. Yeah.
See, me, it's because without his character, Jedi character, saving Grogu, um,
Mm,
you know what I mean. So part of me now
yes.
is wanting to get a photo, either him carrying Grogu or in some form or another, and have him sign that, just because
Yeah.
you know what I mean. There's so
Oh
much,
yeah.
and then especially with Target really re-releasing the Phantom Menace, Jar Jar pops, Funko. There's just so
Hmm.
much out there to get signed. It's just going to be a hard decision to make, but
Hmm.
it's going to be fun. And then now with you know the Darth Jar Jar, that's going to be
Hey, if you're thinking about Funkos, though, aside from the Phantom Menace Jar Jar Pop that just came out, and there's at least two because
yeah,
there's the I think they call it the comic variant or the cell shaded variant or something like
yeah,
that. It's like bright colors. It looks really awesome. There's a 2-pack also right now that's at GameStop's, and it's got Jar Jar in his Clone Wars outfit, and he's got a Boomba that he's about to like launch or sling, and Grievous facing off against him, and I just think like if you could meet Matt Wood too at some point, like get Jar Jar and Grievous on the same thing would
yeah.
just be really cool. Yeah,
That's true.
I'm not saying Matt Wood's coming to the con. I'm not. I'm not saying that. That is not a plug. That's not a hint. We have not actually engaged with Matt Wood. We've been trying to reach him, but we have not actually engaged with Matt Wood, at least as of yet. But um, that I'm just saying, like, if you're trying to get like a combo piece eventually, that'd be a cool thing.
Well, see, and even that, like, okay, just me with young Jason. I think his character is gonna have a bigger role later
Oh
down the line.
yeah,
So you want to
yes,
get his autograph now, because once his character's growth gets bigger in the series or either live action movie, it's going to be harder to get a hold of his autograph.
yes, yes, and another really really great example that that Josh and I have been saying for years now and have witnessed in action at this point um, is get these smaller celebrity guest autographs while they're more affordable like this.
Yep.
Because eventually they won't be. You know, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and Carrie Fisher were all nobodies at 1.2. Their
Yep.
autograph was worth nothing at one point. It was worth, 20, $40 back, not until like maybe the 2000s, late 90s, right? That's when they started getting some actual whole numbers attached to them. And then now they're crazy money, but even they were cheap autographs, so to speak.
Yeah.
One of the other stars that we're seeing on our roster right now, and he's a good personal friend of ours, Chris Bartlett. Chris
Yeah.
Bartlett's the current C3PO, like officially now. He's been C3PO in several things for Lucasfilm for the past decade. Pretty much anytime you see a C3PO with Anthony Daniels at an official ILM event, odds are it's Chris.
Yeah. We've had him on the
And
podcast before. He was on our Andor finale podcast.
he is such a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
And when we first started talking to him, it was for Order 66 and to bring him out for the Friday Night Live show. And we did, and it was as Zero. And that was pretty much all he had really done other than C3PO as like a promotional public figure asset for Lucasfilm. Now he's, on screen as C3PO as well. But back then it was just that. And he was like, hey, just so you know, I've got some other stuff coming up, and maybe it would be cool
Oh shit! Lost the connection.
to sign with you guys again. And we were like, yeah, sure, why not? And so when the time came, we were like, hey, we were thinking about bringing somebody out around this time. Would this be good for you? And he goes, yes, and I have new characters I can showcase. And that was like 2 or 3 times ago that we had brought Chris out, because we've flown Chris out at least 3 or 4 times now. And every time we bring him out, he has more value and more characters that he's brought to life in Star Wars. And he has more coming up in stuff we still haven't seen yet, or at least so I've heard. So some of these actors, yeah, it might just be, oh well, this guy was a droid, or this is someone playing a kid right now, but 5 years from now, it's going to be completely different for that actor, and that $40, that $50 autograph is now $100 plus,
Yep.
and so, and they remember, believe me, they remember the fans that went and approached them before they got big.
Yep.
They definitely remember that. They're really good about that. All Star Wars actors are.
Yeah, but we also can't forget Chris Bartlett also played in Ahsoka. He played I can't remember his name right now. What was his name, David? Ahsoka's droid, the Jedi that created the droid that made the sabers.
Huyang?
Huyang, yeah.
I don't think anyone in particular played Huyang. Huyang's too
Yeah.
thin.
Yeah, Huyang was mostly puppeteered.
Yeah.
But Huyang's voiced by David Tennant.
Yeah.
I don't know in particular if Chris helped puppeteer him or not, though. I haven't heard that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he did something in Ahsoka. It was probably like a protocol droid, maybe in that scene where they're in the
he was one of the ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the red ones.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I know he was a teacher in The Mandalorian, that protocol droid.
Yes. Daniel Bowman was the other protocol droid in that scene, and he's also coming. So Daniel's the other main protocol droid actor right now with Lucasfilm. It's mostly Chris and mostly Daniel.
Nice.
In fact, the really cool metallic blue one that you see in season 3, during the droid episode, that was Daniel, not Chris. Now Chris was in scenes in that episode too. He played a lot of droids in that series, but Daniel was like that eye-catching, pretty metallic blue one, he was there also. And
Yeah, have him on screen right
Daniel's
here.
got some cool stuff to talk about in addition to Chris. So we're really excited actually to have been able to get both of them out. And Chris helped us out a lot with putting us in touch with Daniel. So that was
And
really
you
nice.
and you mentioned panels. So are you going to have your
Yes.
panels listed for fans to see when panels, who's going to have panels there and stuff like that?
Yes, actually, some of them are already up on the website. So if you go to events, I think it said events and activities, it's under that tab. And there's already a bunch of panels and things named and announced. Nothing, I don't think, scheduled officially yet, as far as like this day at this time.
Okay.
That's one of the things me and the partners are working on over the course of this next week, because we have another deadline that it's kind of contingent on for the convention. So we're hoping to have that schedule listed publicly within the next 2 or 3 weeks. But a bunch of the panels have already been announced, and we are wanting to do some really cool droid talk panels with Daniel and Chris, as well as even panels involving the Droid Builders Club, which
Oh,
will be
nice.
attending Rebel Scum Con, because we are having the Galactic Senate, or 501st Legion, Rebel Legion, Mandalorian Mercs, Saber Guild, Droid Builders, and so on heavily involved with our event as well, because we've been working with those organizations through Order 66 and Rebel Scum for over a decade. So when it came time for us to do our own Star Wars convention, we were like, well, we've noticed a lot of conventions in our local vicinity haven't really treated the clubs like they probably should be, or have the allotted space and availability they probably should, to showcase some of the really cool and awesome stuff we know they've built.
Yeah.
So we gave them a huge back wall space, and you might get to see some life-size vehicles, like maybe a starfighter or two, at Rebel ScumCon in person.
Nice.
And we've also partnered with Ronald McDonald House as at least one of our local charities that we're going to be working with for Rebel Scum Con, Ronald McDonald House of Dallas specifically. And we've also partnered with Sabak for Charity out of the Florida area to help with that as well. And they're going to be hosting a charity Sabak tournament at Rebel Scum Con.
Nice.
And so, yeah, like, it's community and Star Wars fandom is one of the biggest points we wanted to drive home with this event, and having the fandom involved with making this event happen is a big part of what we wanted to do here. So it's really awesome that we're having all of these other groups getting involved, and it's just going to make it that much more fun. And it I mean, what's better for Star Wars fans to have an event than to let the Star Wars fans run the event, you know?
Oh, yeah. So the other question I had about that was photo op with young Jason. Is there going to be a
Mm-hmm.
Chopper and young Jason together photo op?
Ooh, that is a good question.
Because you're going to have it. Because
I'm going to bring that up.
Chopper
That's
and him
within
are
the
going
realm
to,
of possibilities.
because they're going to be
Let's say
together.
that. Yes, let's say that. It's within the realm of possibilities. I'll bring that up in my meeting tomorrow.
Because yeah, you got to have that, man. That's going to
Because
be a priceless picture.
I know a guy who should be attending, who I think has a chopper. So I think
Nice.
it is possible to make that happen.
That'd
Let me
be,
see what I
don't
can do
miss
on
out, guys. You're gonna want that photo.
let
That'll
me
be a
see what I
cool
can do
photo.
there. That would
That-
yeah, that'll actually be really killer. That is a great see. All of the fans are helping out. That's why we do these.
yeah, no, that's the thing. You as a fan, that you, me, and David, each of us has our I say vice, but of what we collect.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
more of an art person.
sure,
David collects helmets and the toys and stuff. So like I collect this stuff. This is the stuff I get. This is the stuff
fantastic.
I buy, which I don't have enough wall space. So
No,
it's just sitting in frames, or hasn't been framed yet, but it's got to go up. But I got to figure out, okay, well, what am I going to take down to put it up?
you should get one of those big like portfolio folders, like the artist set up at with cons, and then
Uh-huh.
just put them in there, and you can just display the big book and just fan through it when you show it off. You
Oh,
know,
I should just scan them all, put a TV behind me, and just have them just go flip through. I should
that's
do
not a
that
bad
next
idea.
time. Like one of
I've
those.
thought about maybe getting one of those poster, those big poster displays you used to see at Walmart where you could flip through
Oh
them and
yeah,
then
yeah,
grab the
yeah.
tube. Because I have so many theatrical posters and no wall space for them, and that would be, I think, cool for that.
Yeah.
I just don't know where you would get something like that.
Someone's got to make it, because I bet you I mean, nowadays there's people who are doing the 3D printers and making cool things for Funko Pops, and I mean, it's just a fan. If they make it, someone's gonna buy it.
We have a lot of unique fans and just creative fans in general, um, coming to our vendor room as well. Not just an artist alley. Artist alley. In fact, that's going to be around where you guys are set up. Is our artist alley area. It's that big hallway that just before you get in to the main exhibitor hall. That's where artist alley is going to be set up. So uh, there's going to be all kinds of just creative vendors who just make all kinds of cool stuff for Star Wars fans, from
Nice.
just swag and apparel to things that are handmade. One of the companies we have coming out makes prop replicas of Star Wars currency and other things. They're called hyperspace props. I don't know if you've heard of those guys or not, but they're really cool. They also make custom sabacc decks themed off of different cultures and areas in the galaxy. Like there's a Naboo themed one. There's one based off of the ones we see in Solo. There's kind of a
Nice.
plain generic looking one, and more. And it's just there's just a wealth of talent and artistry that are just going to be gathered there as well, in addition to celebrity guests and panels and events and other things happening. We've been telling people Rebel Scum Con is going to be a Star Wars culture event, because there's going to be a little bit of all of the aspects of Star Wars culture present. Whether you're a toy collector, you're an art enthusiast, you just love the movies, you care about the background stuff and the behind the scenes, or the actors, or the stunts, or whatever. If there's something about Star Wars that you personally love, regardless if you're an OT purist or if you love anything that goes on the screen like I do, there's something for you there. There's something for you to do. All Star Wars fans are welcome at Rebel Scum Con. I don't care what part of Star Wars you like. I don't care if you like all of it. I don't care if you like one movie. If you like Star Wars, come on out, because there's something for you there.
Nice.
Awesome. And we'll be there, Ray and I.
Yeah.
I'm super excited. It's gonna be a blast. It's gonna be a blast, especially just like everybody hanging out. I mean, we're all gonna be running around. We're all gonna be going from event to event, but we're all gonna be there together. And that's just going to be so awesome. Just knowing that you're all there is just it's why I'm so excited.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And for the last story that we have to talk about here, has to do with someone who is directly related with Rebel Scum Con. Um, this
Yes,
character.
finally. Oh, they did it.
And they finally did it, yeah.
They
And
finally
this
did it.
story comes to us from Nerdist.com. Star Wars Lego Specials trailer introduces Darth Jar Jar. Finally, Lego and Star Wars frequently team up on screen, but a new Lego special is really mixing things up. Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy shows a galaxy where space and time have fallen apart. The pieces crumble and put unlikely characters in equally unlikely situations. That means, among other things, we finally get to see Darth Jar Jar, as you can see on our screen here if you're watching this on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Hearing Misa going to Hertz Yusa in Ahmed Best familiar Jar Jar voice was not on our bingo card. The synopsis for the special says, in Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, the entire Star Wars galaxy gets completely mixed up when an ordinary nerf herder, Sig Grebling, played by Gatton Matarazzo from Stranger Things fame, unearths a powerful artifact from a hidden Jedi temple. He finds himself thrust into adventure in a new, wondrously wild and twisted version of the galaxy where good guys are bad guys are good, and the fate of all depends on Sig becoming the hero who can put all the pieces back together. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm in. Sold.
Dude, we just talked about this. This is the whole we talked about freaking skeleton crew.
I know.
Artifact.
Yeah,
Yes,
the temple with the artifact. Yeah, I was thinking that too. Yeah,
dude, that's so freaking
but
crazy.
it could be. It still could be though. Because there's who knows how many they keep finding Jedi that survived Order 66. They keep finding Jedi temples.
Dude,
I
that's
mean,
so crazy.
you can't really throw a rock in the galaxy without hitting a Jedi something or another at this point.
Oh man, this is gonna be fun. Dude,
It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, and that's what's exciting is they took a silly idea or what might have seemed like a silly idea from the fans, and it seems like they're just going to have fun with it, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
see now I want to get a picture of Darth Jar Jar and get that
It's
side.
got to happen.
I'm thinking we
It's
might
gotta
see
happen.
a Darth Jar Jar or two at Rebel Scum Con.
That would be cool.
Yeah. And the show, the actual 4-part series here for Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, it drops on Disney Plus on September 13th.
It's gonna be fun. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I wish it was sooner because I want to ask Ahmed all of the Darth Jar Jar questions, and he's going to be able to answer absolutely none of them.
Mm.
Yeah. Dang.
That's a real shame. Other than like, yeah, we know he's doing it, but I mean, I guess we can ask him if he's excited that he finally got to do this or what that was like. But as far as like actual details, that's going to be kind of a shame.
Yeah.
Guess we can save those for next time.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah, I'm just so excited. Like it would have definitely had to be a what if type situation for them to do it, and it be taken seriously. But it's cool that they're actually doing it, even if it is like a Legends type capacity.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to see.
Yeah, and like I said before, it feels like they're starting to listen to us more and give us more things that other fans have pitched that have caught on like wildfire, like Darth Jar Jar. That's something I never thought I would see from Lucasfilm, officially licensed and an actual thing from Lucasfilm.
And who knows, if it goes well, maybe we'll get more Darth Jar Jar.
Yeah.
Mm.
True.
I won't complain about that.
Yeah, and you did bring up the whole what if possibility for Star Wars,
Yeah.
and that would be a crazy what if. I would love for it to be in live action. I think I love Star Wars more in live action than any other piece of media, because I mean that is original Star Wars, the films. But yeah, Hayden is seems to be back in the fold in a big way, and he just appeared in Ahsoka, of course. I really want that Vader series, a live action Vader series, maybe almost like the next the next piece of timeline after the Obi-Wan series, and continue on, and maybe you can show Obi-Wan and him training with Qui-Gon. You know, I mean that's something that
Yeah.
I think they should consider. But
And then
all
also
right,
too, David. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go
no,
ahead.
you go, Ray.
Oh no, I was just gonna say also, guys, don't keep a lookout. Me and David just interviewed yesterday Rodney Barnes, who is writing the Inquisitor series that's coming out in July. And if you don't know his work, he's written Philadelphia, and he kind of talks about how he kind of incorporated some of what they allowed him to incorporate from Philadelphia into the Inquisitor series. So it's a cool interview that we've got that's going to drop pretty soon.
Dude, man, I like that we're getting more Inquisitor content too,
Yeah,
because that was one of the cool things about Tales of the Empire, was seeing more of the early Inquisitorius, especially on the actual facility. Because in the comics, we kind of got to see the formation of the Inquisitorius at least a little bit on Coruscant, because they gathered in the Jedi Temple first, where Vader initially started training them. And it's also kind of interesting to see that they're they're starting to establish more of a rotating roster within the Inquisitorius, because at first we were led to believe there was like 10 or less. But I was doing the counting with in conversation with a friend last night, and we're around like 13 or 14 Inquisitors that have been around in canon total, and at least another one or two from Legends, because there was also one or two in what was it called? Visions, the
yeah,
2 seasons of Star Wars Visions, and those aren't necessarily canon, even though Lucasfilm could always decide to use those Inquisitors later if they want to. Now that
true.
we know they can expand past 10, um, I was kind of surprised to see, though, a little lack of Imperial content with Tales of the Empire, though. That's kind of my only gripe about the show. Is it was titled Tales of the Empire, and very little of it was actually about the Empire. And not that I didn't like the content,
Mhm.
like I really liked the content. The episodes were awesome. It's just it was labeled one thing, and I got season 2 of Tales of the Jedi. It feels like
Yeah,
not that I didn't like it. I liked it. It's just like
Yeah.
it's not what you said it was, Lucasfilm. But okay, it's still cool though.
yeah, and that's one thing that Ronnie told us yesterday too, is that he got to create a Jedi for them that they hunt after. So that couldn't tell
Ooh,
us much more than that, but he just said it's a character that you're gonna learn about and them hunting him down.
interesting. Well, color me excited. It's Star Wars. I was already going to be excited.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that is the show for tonight. Thank you to everyone out there watching us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And I also, before we go, I want to give a shout out to our awesome supporters on Patreon. On our top tier, Hayden Hauser, Darth Ace 1, Liam McCallion, Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Deb McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Zach Netzel, Fenrir 526, Maya Morris, and Maka Tautala. Thank you so much for all your awesome love and support, helping us to get to Rebel Scum Con. And yeah, I'm excited. The lineup, the panels, the fact that we're going to have our own table there, and we're going to be able to podcast from the show floor and just to hang out. And I think for our podcast, one of the big things about our podcast was essentially born at Celebration, meeting our future hosts there, and who knows who we might meet up in Allen, Texas, correct, at Rebel Scum Con. So Yeah,
That's right.
I'm very, very much looking forward to having that same field back again. And thank you so much, Bobby, for doing the podcast and making some time to talk about Star Wars with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. It was an absolute pleasure. Um, doing doing collaborative content with other Star Wars fans and Star Wars content creators has been one of my top goals for rebelscum.com in general. When
Mhm.
that was one of the other things, aside from just pumping up more content, it was I wanted to interact and do more content with other content creators too, because why not?
Yeah.
Part of the fun is sharing it with everybody else. So if
I
you
agree.
like Star Wars, I want nothing more than to talk to you about why you love Star Wars and why I love Star Wars. Because I mean, this was a blast for me. So I'm just glad that you guys let me come on. And real quick, if you guys are looking for passes or to book your hotels, go to rebelscumconventions with an S.com. That's rebelscumconventions.com. And there is a built in hotel room discount that is automatically applied through our website, which was also recently reduced by another $20 a night in like the past month because we went back to our hotel and we were like, hey, other people are telling us all these different things. Can you can you do anything about it? And they said, let's see what we can do. And they did. So room rate got a little bit lower, and I think that ends early June. So the hotel rooms are filling up, and the time is running out on that discount. And if any of if you guys would like to do a giveaway, I would love to give out a free event pass through your show. Just get me the information of the winner. Um, by the end of the month, so I can have their name and on the list for will call.
All right,
Sweet.
awesome. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that for sure.
Yeah, we got to give
And
a
to be
shout out
clear,
to
an event pass gets you in Thursday through Sunday. It's all 4
nice.
days. So we'll if you guys would like, we'll give out at least we'll give out one event pass from your show here.
And this is the website, correct? rebelscumconventions.com.
That's the one. rebelscumconventions.com.
All right, awesome.
And then we got to give a shout out to one more partner of our Star Wars Still podcast. Without Dragon's Lair Alamo Ranch here in San Antonio, Texas, we would not have the content of the Star Wars comics that we read and able to review and talk about on the show. So thanks to Dragon's Lair for being there and supporting us.
Yeah, big shout out to them and Rose, definitely.
Yeah.
So that is it for the podcast. Again, thank you, Bobby, for coming on the podcast, and hopefully we'll see you in person at the convention. And for Bobby, Retro Ray, my name is David, and may the force be with you.
Always.
You
Sorry, I cut you off there, Bobby. What were you gonna say?
No, you're good. I was just saying, you rebel scum. That's usually how I end stuff.
Nice, perfect.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, yeah, we'll end it right there.